Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Lauren Feldman, and I'm here today with Mel Gravely, who is CEO of Triversity, a construction company in Cincinnati. Welcome back, Mel.
Oh, that's so good to be back. I'm excited to be back on 21 Hats.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Some of our listeners may recall that I did speak with you about a year ago when you published your excellent and very brave book, Dear White Friend. I do want to follow up on that in a moment, but first, I want to talk business with you. We're getting so many mixed signals these days on the economy, and I've been reaching out to people, kind of asking, what does it look like from where you sit? So, Mel, in Cincinnati, running a construction business, what does it look like from where you sit?
Yeah, I tell you what, if there's a word that is more complex than mixed signals, we should find it, because the signals are all over the place. So let me just give you the facts. I've got a 2023 backlog that rivals any in the history of our business.
Wow.
So our backlog for 2023 is solid. And I'm excited about that.
That's great.
We are probably down, 8% of the people we need. And we are facing material cost escalation that continues to happen pretty much across the board. If you name it, the cost is up and unstable. So it's not just up and predictable. It's up and, I can only get fixed price for just a few days. And, so when you say labor costs are up and labor markets, constrained, and you've got, strong backlog of interest, and you've got a lot of money at play, you got interest rates rising. So I don't know what to make of it. But so here's what we've decided. We have decided that something's about to happen, and we don't know what it is, but it is not positive, right? So I don't know where it's going to come from, but we cannot sustain the inflationary pressures around labor and raw materials and supplies that we are seeing. At some point, our customers are going to say, if it costs that much, I'm not going to do it. At some point, our customers are going to say, I can't make that pencil out to do a multifamily home or to do an office complex or to do, whatever it is they want to do. So we have decided that something's going to happen. We don't know if it's 6 days, 6 months, but it's probably not 12 months from now.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions about that. One, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, you have something of a specialty in constructing hospitals. And that sounds like the kind of business that might hold up even in a downturn. Is that why your 2023 is looking so strong, or is it across the board?
Our 2023 is strong across the board. I mean, there's no segment, about 40% of our business is healthcare, and the balance is other stuff. It's all up. It's all up.
Wow.
And I believe, we're going to still continue to have good healthcare performance through 2023 because of how those businesses are funded. There's a couple of exceptions. There's some public hospitals here that I think are going to, lose some CapEx dollars. But other than that, I think we're going to be okay in healthcare. But keep in mind, when you're running a business, if it's down 10% or 15%, it can get pretty dicey pretty quickly. So that's what I'm worried about. And everything we do, people say, well, once they design it and they submit the budgets for it, they're going to build it. That's just not true. It's just not true. You can stop building even after you start. That's rare that you stop after you start. But right up to the moment we start throwing dirt or we start renovating a floor, because we do a lot of large-scale renovation as well, you can decide to wait. You could have the architectural drawings and be all permitted and just decide not to do it. So we're planning to be prepared, I guess is what I should say. I shouldn't say worry.
How does that work on your end, looking at the business for 2023? Do you have to lock in a price, or can you be flexible given the inflationary environment and the cost of labor?
Yeah, we're just unable to lock in prices. We can lock in our fee, the percentage of our margin, but we cannot lock in subcontractor numbers at this point, almost anything. We are doing a few things to mitigate costs on things we know are going to go. We're pre-buying some supplies and storing them for customers, to make sure of two things. One, that we can have them there when they want them, and also that we can guarantee the price on them. So we're doing some of that when we can, but for the most part, the costs are going to end up passing through at time of construction.
When did you start doing that? That's really interesting. Was that a supply chain snafu thing for you, that you just decided you had to have more material on hand?
Yeah, no, not really, because I'll only take the risk if the customer wants me to. If the customer is willing to ride the risk with me, I'll take it. So I'm not buying material in hopes there's work. I'm buying material because the customer is saying, go buy that material because we want it. But what's forcing that, though, is we're showing customers the inability to lock in prices, the inability to guarantee lead times. And when I say guarantee lead times, I mean, if you make a mistake on a toilet partition, let's just say you measure it wrong and it comes in, you could be waiting months to get a replacement toilet partition.
Wow.
Because it's got to be refabricated, it's got to be made, and it's got to be shipped, and you get back in line like you started all over. So those things are just so disruptive. And, what used to be 2-3 weeks is now, what's your bet on how long it can take? So those disruptions are making it hard. So if you're listening to all of that, as your listeners are listening, if you're a customer, it's just tough to make good decisions when you don't know what it's going to cost and when it can be delivered.
Right. Tell me about the labor situation. You said you're short now. Is this as good as it's been, or is it consistently been bad for the last year or so? What's that been like?
Yeah. So it's been so in our industry, especially in the craft labor, the folks who are actually building things that wear tool belts. That is a troubled area of our industry, meaning that the number of folks exiting by age and interest does not equal the smaller number of people coming into the industry as new participants in becoming carpenters and laborers and the like. So we've had that imbalance for probably 15, 20 years. And the only way to fix that is either entice more people to come, which I don't think is going to happen, or increase productivity. And I think that's where the industry's got to go. So we start with a dynamic that is, out of balance. What makes it even more constrained is, just acutely over the last few years, we've had increased amounts of people exiting, still the trickle of people entering, and demand being up. So we are, struggling to hire, particularly carpenters, and struggling to keep them. I mean, they can go across the street and make more money, and then if they don't like it over there, they can come back because I'll take them back because I need them. So we don't have much leverage. But I am seeing that. I wouldn't call it easing. It's just less crazy. Still crazy, but a bit less. And that's across the board. Even in our professional hires, our 4-year degree, construction engineers and the like. It's still very, very robust. But what I told the team is we're looking for rock stars now, not rocks. So we're not just filling jobs anymore. We're looking for rock stars, and we'll pass over people who are just kind of mediocre.
Well, that's a better position to be in.
Well, wait now. I want to make sure, but that means I'm also likely accepting slower growth for my company.
Oh, interesting.
I just think something's going to happen, Lauren. I think that the market's going to soften. I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's going to come to an abrupt kind of jolt. And I want to have on my team the very best and folks I'm willing to ride it out with and invest in over that period of time. Because whoever does that the best is going to come out the back end of whatever happens. They're going to come out stronger.
Are there specific metrics that you look at, either in terms of your own business or the economy as a whole, that are telling you something bad's going to happen?
Well, so the short answer is no. Of course, we look at backlog. And of course, we talk to our customers about, how solid. So we stress test our projects to see, what the funding sources are, and are those funding sources solid no matter what. But I can't tell you there's one set of metrics. But let me tell you the anecdotal things I'm seeing. on top of the dynamics I described earlier, where it's just got to be hard for customers to make decisions. But I'm also hearing that marketing firms are slowing their hiring and even stopping their hiring, shedding some people. Well, marketing is one of those discretionary expenses.
Right.
That I wonder, why are they doing that? So what do they see that I don't see? But right now, if I look at all the traditional things we would look at what the architects are drawing, and all those numbers are at least on par with good years of the past. So there's no reason to believe it. I just don't trust the traditional metrics anymore. I don't think there's too many dynamics going on in our economy, including, you throw a little COVID and international instability in there, to believe what the experts tell me about what they know from previous eras in our economy.
Do you think your experience with this is pretty representative of the industry as a whole? I mean, I did just read a story, I think it was in the Dallas Morning News, about a construction business in Texas that's, the owner just said the last 12 months have been their best 12 months ever. They're selling everything they can get in. Businesses have never been better, and they don't see anything changing.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too from a lot of folks. So no, I think everybody's talking about what's going on, but I don't know if people are reacting to it. Our organization is a purpose-driven, people-first organization, and I'm not trying to maximize profitability over the short run. I'm trying to build an enduring company over the long run, and part of that is how you treat people. So imagine if I just continue on my merry hiring way, and I pursue every opportunity I can. I sell this sucker out, and I stress my people to do more and faster. I'll make more money in the short run. But if anything happens in the economy and I've got to bring those numbers down swiftly, you do something to your culture that I think is problematic. And so, if you hire people in your organization that aren't a cultural fit, it's problematic. And so we're just taking a more paced approach to this. And it's probably driven a little bit by my personality, but I'm just not trying to maximize the short run.
Are there things you can do to prepare for a downturn to put you in a position to seize opportunities that may present themselves?
Yeah, we are redoubling our efforts on our core customers to make sure that if they do anything, they do it with us. So because we make the most money with the people we know the best and who know us, because we've got value with them. We are investing in the top talent to make sure that we have them available. And then we're managing our money in ways that will allow us to sustain ourselves through, a couple of years of things going sideways. And I want to be clear. I don't want your listeners to think that, man, this guy's gloom and doom. I'm really not. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to bet the long term of the organization based on something I just don't know. And again, it might be my personality or my approach as a CEO. We're just going to adjust our growth and therefore our earnings expectations. And if we left some money on the table, we'll get it up in the next 50 years when we're around that long.
I like that attitude. All right. Well, that's very helpful and very interesting. I do want to go back and talk about your book. For those listening who haven't read it, it's a terrific book. And if I can encapsulate it really quickly, and please feel free to add to this, but to me, what I remember best, having read it a year ago, is you really focused on the issue of intentionality, of looking for ways to make the situation in your life, in your business, in this country better where you can. You were very honest about pointing out places where people had been intentional about helping you in your own journey, and you wrote about what people can do to help others. And I found I've actually repeated what you wrote to a lot of people, and it's a lot of people think about it in terms of hiring, looking to hire diversity. You pointed out in the book that, that is difficult, and it doesn't always go smoothly. There are other things you can do. Like, you don't have to hire people. You can pick suppliers and contractors and do the same thing there with intentionality and have a real impact. And I know that's opened eyes from some of the people I've talked to who hadn't really thought about that. Did I do okay with that?
You did a great job. The book really, I'm trying to have to provide an on-ramp to have a more productive conversation about race. So instead of accusing and blaming and naming and shaming, I'm just trying to have a better conversation, a more productive conversation about it. Because when we can effectively do that, my experience is we find common ground and we can make a difference to get together. So the book really is trying to do three things. It's trying to help people in a very quick way understand what the heck's really going on with race. Second, why people should care. And third, what they can do about it. And you talked about intentionality. That part of it is just so important. But people can't get intentional until they understand the framework of how do we get here? What's really going on? Why is this persisting? And I try to lay that out in an easy to understand format. And so far, the response has been generally pretty good.
Well, tell me about that. Generally pretty good?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, if you find me if you go out and look at where where posts come up about me or things in social media, there's some people that don't appreciate what I'm doing. Well,
you put yourself out there, and we all know, unfortunately, in this environment, what can happen.
Yeah, we got an email the other day, and it came through our website. So I went to my assistant, and she brought it in the office. She was very upset. Some guy lit into me pretty good. But what I said to her is, first, there's no responding to this because he's not making any points. He's just upset about something. So I'm trying to figure out why I even read the book. But second, you can't write a book called Dear White Friend and not expect to have some people not like that idea. That's where we are in this nation. So I can't say it doesn't bother me at all. That would be lying to you, being disingenuous. But I have figured out a place to put that and really focus my attention on others. So 80% of America understand something's going on. They may not know the depth and realize that, there's maybe something they can do about it. I'm just trying to help enlighten and inspire that 80%. And people are doing things that I hadn't even thought about. A guy called me up. He wanted to meet for breakfast. And so I met with him for breakfast, and he was building a fund to invest in some real estate properties. And he said, we're going to build this fund. It's going to be $100 million, but we're not going to do it without 10% black dollars in it. And I thought, wow. He said, the problem is I don't have any black friends. So if you could you introduce some people that can help me do that. He didn't need that money to make his fund work. Right. But he wanted to make his difference. He took his sphere of influence and said, I can make a difference here. It slowed them down mightily. You had to find the friends. You had to explain the fund to them. They really didn't know this guy. So you had to build some trust. He took an extra 4 to 6 months of just that effort. But that's the difference he can make. Now, the beautiful thing is, first, it worked. Second, the next time he goes, he's got black friends who have learned to trust him, and they've invested together. I've got another guy in California who noticed that African Americans and other people of color in the architectural engineering space, they kind of get up to a level in companies, and they just don't rise up to the very top. And so he wanted to do something about that. So he and got some friends together, and they created a 9-month kind of leadership development program for folks, not just in his company, but across the industry. And they're focusing on giving these folks the intangible skills they need or exposures that they need to climb up in organizations. And they're staying with them as mentors. And I thought, okay, well, he's doing what he can do. So these examples go on and on and on. And, man, that warms my cockles. I got to tell you, that people are impacting intentionally their sphere of influence.
Well, let me ask it this way. It's not easy to write a book. It's even harder to write a good one. You took the time to do this. And it wasn't just any topic. You picked a topic that you knew would be somewhat treacherous and not something anyone would recommend to you as, the way to build your business, your primary career. A year later, are you glad you did it?
Depends on the day. If I was honest with you, I would say in balance, most days I am. But it's for reasons that are deeper inside than our business. And by the way, I don't think it's hurt, to my knowledge, it's not hurt our business at all. So that's good news. But to have my father say it's the most important thing you've ever done. Man, that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
So, I will tell you, though, I've learned some things along the way about my white friends. And I'll share 3 with you.
Please.
Yeah. My friends have an interest in our challenge with race. This has confirmed that with me. They have an interest in our challenges around race. They've shown it through showing up. They've shown it through putting me in front of their business groups. The folks who have taken a chance to put me in front of their associations and their, internal organization and community groups is just amazing to me. So they have an interest. The second thing I've learned, though, is that their interest is unrooted and therefore it's tenuous. So what I mean by that is this is, for many of them, the first and only book they've ever read on this topic. And they walk away thinking, man, okay, Mel's probably right. Got something there. I understand what he's saying. Then they go back into their silos, or they go back to their talk radio or their news sources or their social media feeds, and they start getting hit with challenges to what they just discovered. And since it's unrooted, it's easy for them to start believing, no, maybe that isn't so true. Maybe what Mel said isn't right. Maybe maybe it's about something else. So, what that means to me is I've got to figure out a way to give a more steady diet of insight.
You got to keep writing more books.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. My wife is like, I don't know about that, Mel. I don't know. But the last thing is, and this might be the scariest one, is my friends want this to be fixed. And it sounds great when you say it, but the challenge is they want more of it to be fixed by single solutions, by microwave, by Thursday at 2:00.
An easy answer.
Yeah. And I think that this is multi-generational.
Took us a long time to get here.
It really did. And it's got so many facets to it. So they'll tell me, like, the answer here is education. And I'm like, yep, I think education is a part of it. But if I educate kids and send them back to the same dysfunctional neighborhoods that they came from with, 6 consecutive generations of poverty, I got a feeling that's not going to work out so well. Let me show you some examples that say education is great, but it's not enough. So we've just got to, realize that it's longer term. We've got to lean in a way that is sustainable, and because it's not going to go away. And so I haven't figured out what to do about what I've learned yet, to be honest. But those are the 3 big things that I've learned.
It's interesting. You mentioned education, and your book kind of coincided with this movement toward what's known as critical race theory. And we don't have to get into detail on that, but basically, it's a thought that we need to be very careful about the way we talk about race. I'm wondering. Obviously it goes a lot beyond that, but I'm encapsulating quickly. I'm wondering if that had any impact on your book and the conversations that you had. Did that impede your efforts to have these conversations in any way?
Yeah, I would call it headwinds.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote an op-ed about critical race theory and tried to place it where I think it belongs in this whole thing, because there's always going to be those things, and the branding of certain things will. But again, that's part of the context we're living in. I knew that when we started, and I've just recommitted myself to at least spending as much time as I spent this coming year on this topic. Really?
You're going to keep doing it?
I'm going to keep doing it because my friends have leaned in to support it, and which tells me that they got my back on this. And I'm referring to all my friends, including my white friends. And if they're willing to continue to put me in front of the right groups, we're going to do it. Now, we're not going to do a big promotional push or anything, but if people are saying, hey, this Chamber of Commerce or this civic association or come and speak to them and get on an airplane, I'm going to do it because I want to infect the nation with a new way and a better way and a more productive way to talk about race. And right now, it's my calling. And when the call stops, I'll stop answering. But right now, that's where I'm called to be.
Well, good for you. I appreciate you continuing to fight the good fight. Mel Gravely is CEO of Triversity Construction in Cincinnati and the author of Dear White Friend, which I highly recommend. Mel, thanks for taking the time.
It is my pleasure. I can't wait to be back again.
And you will. Thank you, Mel. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great week.